Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at what's known as biomarkers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 of my own biomarkers onto a list of 10 biomarkers that these 2 scientists from Tufts University came up with in their book, Biomarkers. And these are all reversible. We know we can reverse these biomarkers, but they didn't have the most important biomarkers on there. They didn't have biophoton levels. They didn't have the amount of relatively current waste matter in our system. They didn't have the accumulated morbid matter in our system, and they didn't have the water percentage. Now let me start with water percentage and work backwards, because a lot of us, when we go on a solid food vacation, we see a tremendous amount of weight loss in that first day and in the first week. And the reason is because we're getting rid of maybe 12 or 15 meals that are backed up in our system that are relatively fresh. So as I said, when we look at our weight, this is another thing you have to understand. There's 7 major components of weight. So there's 2 forms of waste matter. So when we go on a juice cleanse, a juice fast, or a juice feast, a solid food vacation, what we do is we flush out maybe 12 or 15 of those relatively current meals. That is if you're eating the typical food. And then for, who knows, maybe another couple of days, we'll still get rid of stuff that's a little bit older than this stuff, but it isn't ancient yet. And then that's where we have the accumulated morbid matter. So when we look at our weight, we have to understand there's more than one component of weight. And one of the most important components would be this water percentage. That's why I encourage everybody to get a scale and measure your water percentage, because most of us come in around 50%. And if we're at 50% and we're supposed to be at 70%, we're only operating about 72% efficiency. Almost every system in our body needs water, right? So a lot of symptoms are from being dehydrated. And you got to think about these 7 components of weight, because a lot of people say, I only lost 10 pounds, but look at my water percentage. I went from 50% to 70%. Let me say, I weigh 100 pounds, 20%, 20 pounds. Oh my God, I lost 30 pounds of who knows what, several things we can lose. But then we gain these 20 pounds of water. So when we are doing a solid food vacation, we get on that scale and we go, dang, haven't lost anything in 3 days, 4 days. What's going on? How can that be? Especially I'm seeing stuff coming out of me. And for me, when it happened, my gosh, I was documenting all this stuff. I'm weighing the stuff coming out of me. I know that I weighed 3 pounds of stuff coming out of me. Why didn't the scale reflect that? I saw that right off the bat, and it had me puzzled. And then, of course, I realized that the things inside of us that are ancient are extremely dried out. They're like dried up sponges inside of our system. They're like axle grease sticking to some place in our body, or they might be in a little cove, a ballooned out section of a bunch of stuff that's just really thick and real dried out, because water is very precious to our body. One of the things the body does when liquid goes into the colon is it recycles that water. So that's why we can tell whether or not we're eating healthy foods or not based on how it comes out of us. If it's coming out formed like a sausage or a hot dog, that's not a good sign. It took too long to go through the food tube, more water was taken out of it. So the really ancient stuff has had a lot of water sucked out of it. It's extremely dry. That's why it's so important that we drink a lot of juices to rehydrate that stuff, so to speak. And this is what I thought of initially and how I explained it off without realizing that water percentage connection. I said, well, these dried up sponges may weigh an ounce apiece. To get them off the side of the wall, to loosen them up so they move along, got to rehydrate them to 10 ounces. So what's happening when we're rehydrating, it's weighing more, but it hasn't popped off yet. Oh, a little bitty piece pops off. We're still adding more water. It's getting up to 5 and 6. Some are getting 10, they pop off. So that's kind of what's happening down below. And that when this is happening, this is how we get a lot of gas while we're doing this process, as we're breaking this stuff up to get it out of us. So there's several ways we could be not seeing the weight loss on the scale, and yet we know we're eliminating things and we're exchanging some good bodily fluids. And what we can do is simply, how do I want to say this? Well, I'm not really sure how I want to say this now. I know most people are not going to go to the trouble to actually weigh the stuff or capture the stuff. But when you do capture this stuff, this is really important to understand, because what looks innocent when it goes into the water is not near as innocent as you think. It has this horrible smell, and that's part of what we're doing too. So even though the scale's not going down like we want to, realize there's 2 main things. Once again, we've got to consider that we might be rehydrating our cells in our body on an intracellular level, or we could be simply moistening these dried up sponges so they can come out of us. So there's two ways that that can happen to us. So what I always advise people is to do what I did back then. I really got in there and I dug and I dug, and the best way to do this is lay on your back like you're doing abdominal crunches, and then bend your knees up and drop your knees off to one side. That exposes this area better. Then you can actually get in there and find where that colon is at and dig around it and see if you can't break things up. And remember, when you do this, if you feel tender areas, there's a good chance you've got a bunch of garbage in there. So you might want to tenderly massage that area, see if you can break something loose. And many times you can actually feel it, and you'll go, okay, and it might even make you nauseous if you break something loose like that. So we have to understand that when we do this properly, we got to drink a lot of juices, otherwise we're not going to rehydrate that stuff. And someone commented about, well, wait a second, Meyerowitz said we should only drink 3 little small glasses. Well, that's not enough. Obviously, Meyerowitz probably is making the same mistake Cousins is making. Read Pablo Areola's book, and Areola didn't know how to do it, and these guys just copied them and didn't figure it out on their own. This is what separates me from everyone else in this industry. I got into this not because I was sick, it's because I figured out a way to figure out how much I got to consume. I know how much you got to consume. You got to consume a lot. You got to keep your carbohydrate fill tank full. You got to give yourself energy, and you got to rehydrate those old dried up sponges that are down in there. So water percentage is a huge biomarker we need to be aware of. Get you a scale that measures your water percentage, and most people, you're going to be amazed, even if you drink a lot of water, if you're not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, you're not going to hydrate your cells on an intracellular level like you can with structured water in the fruits and vegetables, and your water percentage may be way down there, like 50%. And it takes forever to rehydrate yourself. It takes months. I worked with a guy one time. He came in at 50% water, drinking a gallon of water a day. 100 days later, on nothing but juices, he goes up to 60% water. Took him that long just to go up 10%. And he didn't lose that much weight until you realize, oh my God, 10% of 160 pounds. Okay, that's a little bit of water gain, isn't it? So that's important to understand, is that biomarker. And then again, the next two is the relatively fresh stuff and the accumulated morbid matter. And for me, I didn't start seeing that old stuff come out of me until around day 11 or 12. If you don't start seeing that stuff come out of you around that time period, if you're around 40, extrapolate if you're over or under. If you're over 40, it might take you maybe into the day 20 before you get to it. If you're real young, you might get into it in the first week, but you might get into it right away. You never know when you might be able to get rid of some of that old stuff in there. And you may not have any. So there's always a possibility you might be that 5% that don't have any. If you don't have any, that's great. Good deal for you. Do you need to stop it at this point? Well, that's one of the deciding factors on whether or not we want to whether or not we've gone the distance. Do we need to go further on the juice cleanse or not? Well, the longer we can go with an empty food tube, the more aggressive it will be at pulling other garbage into our body. So if you still have uric acid in your joints from eating too many animal products, too much uric acid in there, you might clean out your intestines in 1 month or 2 months, but it may take you 3 months or 100 days before you get all that garbage out of you. The longer you can go with an empty food tube, the more aggressive it will pull that stuff out of you. And then the most important biomarker of all is our biophoton levels. I said this many times, we should only have one law. Everyone should have a minimal biophoton level, and as of a certain year, we should make it mandatory that every child born after this time period will be tested for their biophoton level. And then when you go to school, you're going to be asked, let me see your certificate of biophoton levels instead of your shot records. That's the best immunity. We already know that. Dr. Pop proved it. All living systems store this sunlight energy in the nucleus of our cells, and the more they have, the healthier they are. Are you going to find that information on Wikipedia? Come on, man, consider the source. Are you that naive? Maybe so. Many people don't know Wikipedia is owned and controlled by a small group of people, just like they own and control everything. It's biased. We know Wikipedia is biased. Google Wikipedia biased against alternative health. They're against anything that's going to help us wake up and solve problems. That's the reason why the Royal Society refused to publish the works of Chandra Bose when he proved that there are these biophotons in plants. Look, they can not only sense their environment, they can actually read our minds. This is the biophotons. This is coherent sunlight energy that's supposed to be stored in the nucleus of our cells, and this is the most important biomarker of all. And if we had an adequate biophoton level, the only way to get it would be to eat water-rich foods, so we'd already have the right water percentage. So we wouldn't even need that. And if we ate the right foods, we also wouldn't have 10 or 12, 15 meals backed up in our colon. We'd have a fast-moving sewage system instead of this slow, stagnant cesspool that Victor Hugo called a serpent that lives within us, because it's shaped like a snake, and it's polluting our blood and polluting our thoughts and affecting us in ways that you don't understand until you get rid of that demon. And then, if we can bump up our biophotons and get rid of that serpent, it'll change our mentality. And this is why we struggle so much. We don't need to be confused by getting distracted and look at all those other biomarkers. There's only one biomarker we need to focus on. What are our biophoton levels, and what's the best way to bump them up? How do we lose our biophotons? How do we correct that mistake? It's simple. I've said it over and over and over, but if this is the first time you see my videos, we do it when we alter our food. When we cook our food, we destroy biophotons. That's the fall of mankind. That's how we lost one of our senses. That's why we get distracted and focus on these 10 biomarkers that, yeah, our lives will improve when we do that, but what's the best way to improve all of those? It begins by eating the best food you can eat. That's how you end up building the best body, and you get those other good biomarkers. You just can't eat only the right food and not get all those biomarkers. You got to be healthy. You got to be active. There are other needs we must satisfy. So as I've mentioned over and over, 2 groups of needs we must satisfy. And one of them has to do with our food. That's where we're making a big mistake. That's where a solid food vacation can allow us to bump up our biophotons, get rid of that serpent, and change all of our biomarkers better than anything else. And you can go down below in the description box and go to a seminar that I made on how to do a solid food vacation. I tell you, this is how you take the first of it, my first step. There's 3 steps altogether. And you can watch the Deborah Duncan Show, listen to Dr. Roba. If you haven't listened to these guys, you need to listen to how exciting this is for people to go through it. Now, it takes a while before you really have an aha moment. For me, at 40 years of age, it took me around 3 months before I went, aha! But it was one of the most exciting things I'd ever done, because I had seen such unbelievable nasty stuff come out of me, and everything in my life just got better and better. I didn't need to sleep as much. My mental clarity was better. Everything, my skin kept getting softer and softer. When I go back and look at my journal when I went on my first long juice fast back in '94, when I went 90 days, I look back on day 62, 68, I'm always saying, oh my God, my skin's still getting softer, and I have big old stars with exclamation marks going, oh, I can't believe it, at that stage. So if you're getting discouraged and you're only in the 2nd week, what you need to do is make a list of all the great things that have happened to you while you're doing this. So whenever you start thinking, is this really worth it? You got to look at that list, and you go, oh my gosh, look at these 5 things that happened in the first week or the 2 weeks. Oh my God, 5 things in 2 weeks. What's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, next 2 months? Remember, we heal in the reverse order in which things happen. So if you have something that's very chronic, it may take you 3 or 4 months to really have the aha moment where something really serious is gone. That's the aha moment. If you don't have any really big serious problem like I had, it's going to take you a while to get those biophoton levels up and up and up. And once they start getting higher and higher, you're going to start noticing things in your life manifest in ways you couldn't have done before, because your levels were too low. And this is hard to explain, but I'm telling you, when this happened to me, I couldn't believe the amount of synchronicity of things that happened to me in my life. And it wasn't just because I was more aware of it. It was happening. I'm telling you, it was happening. I'd be thinking of something, grab a book, open it up, and there it is. I'd turn the TV on, there it is. It's mind-boggling how we really do create our own life with our thoughts. So from that perspective, never say I can never do something, even if you've had bad success doing this the whole time. Especially something like the juice fast. You've never done it before. You can't say I can't do this or whatever. So I can understand why people say I'm going to give up. I've tried losing weight before and it's been a failure no matter what program I've been on. You probably haven't been on this program yet. And if you did, you probably did it wrong. I haven't met one person yet that I've coached that had done it and they did it right, because they followed Steve Meyerowitz or Pablo Areola or Gabriel Cousins and only drinking a little bit of juice. Even Bill Bright. They said, we consulted a nutritionist. They told us to drink a half a gallon a day. What they do, go read Pablo Areola's book. No, man, I'm telling you, you got to drink a lot of juice. It takes at least a gallon to make this work. You got to give your body everything it needs. And that's why it's all based on calories. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy over using calories as a means to figure out our biochemical energy, but it's the best thing we have. It's the closest thing we have. How else are you going to measure food that's going to be meaningful to you to make sure you're getting enough energy? You can't measure weight, maybe dry weight. That may be an interesting analysis if you studied all the dry weight and looked at it from that perspective. It might be more true to form, but otherwise the best thing we have now is to compare biochemical energy with the other energy that's produced in the Krebs cycle, and that of course is the heat produced. That's the calories. So we can measure that. We just haven't been able to figure out how to measure this biochemical energy. But remember, Dr. Pop has figured out how to measure something more important. Don't worry about the calories as much as you want to worry about the biophotons, because that's what Dr. Pop proved, is that when we cook our food, you destroy the biophotons. That's the most important thing we need to worry about. There's only one nutrient in your food you need to focus on. That's the biophotons. When you do that, you're not eating animals, you're not eating grains, you're not eating foods that you're not biologically adapted to eat. You won't be processing your food, you won't be using chemicals in any way. And what are the only foods that we can eat in the state that they were given to us? Fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. It's not complicated. This is simple. The hard problem is we're all addicted to this way of life, and everything in our society revolves around this way of life. Everybody's going this direction, and it's hard not to just glide with the stream of the crowd, isn't it? And socially, it's not easy to be surrounded by everyone doing certain things. And if you're lucky, what's going to happen, and what's happening with a lot of people that I'm reading comments from, is people are wanting to know more. They see the results. That's why I get excited. I know. I talk to people. I say, what are all your friends saying about you? Oh, they say I'm glowing. I said, remember, don't tell them what you're doing until they say you're glowing. Otherwise, if you go into, hey, I just started this juice fast, they go, oh, you're crazy, you're going to lose too much weight too soon. It's going to be dangerous. And that might even talk you out of it. Wait till they go, my God, you look incredible, your skin, you're glowing, wow, look at you, look at you. And then when you tell them what you're doing, they're going to look like a first-class fool and say, well, you shouldn't do that. Whoa, wait a second. You don't like the results? You're not willing to do it? What's the objection here? So, there are a lot of things that pull us down, right? A lot of things that keep us where we are. Society, our own addictions, our habits. And how do we deal with all those? I've told you many times. There's only one true way to deal with something that's controlling you. That's to take back control. And that's where you do a solid food vacation. Our brains are stuck in our taste buds, my friends. And our reptilian brain is kicking our neocortex butt. But our neocortex can fight back. We can take the fourth thing we mastered, machines, modify a water fast, make it into a juice fast, make it better. Better. Why? Because we're addressing the biophotons. Remember, number one biomarker, biophotons, period. One law on this planet. We've got to have a minimal level of biophotons, and if we still have leaders at that time, then they have to have a optimal biophoton level. It only makes sense. You can't have someone lead you unless they know where to go. So that's why they say you can't take advice from a fat philosopher. Apparently this person doesn't know how to do it. He can't solve a problem. He can't even solve his own problems. You got to have someone lead you who knows how to go the right way. Therefore, that's the whole idea of the philosopher king. We don't have philosophers even wanting to do that. It's a unique personality to be a philosopher and then want to rule. It can be, you can have it to be an individuality. That's the blue-red combination in the personality test I talked about. You can look at Know Thyself if you want to learn more about that test. But in the meantime, digress so many times. What's the point? The point is simple. Biophotons, number one. Everything's a distraction if we don't get reconnected. Everything is a distraction if we don't get reconnected. Everything, everything, everything. But once we are getting reconnected, then we got to look at what we got to do downstream. And I've mentioned many times before, there are three things that are damaged: the environment, society, and our own anatomy. And not just physically. We have four current status factors, remember. We can be damaged mentally and emotionally, psychologically. So those two have to be addressed. And how do you deal with all of those? You work at the base first, the foundation. That's the body. That's where the solid food vacation comes into play. And then you also, on a cleanse, on a solid food vacation, you don't just cleanse on a physical level, you cleanse on an emotional level too, which is one of the most exciting aspects of this. is that we store, remember, thoughts are, an emotion is a thought linked to a sensation. Everywhere a thought goes, so does a molecule. So we store emotions and hurt in our body, and we actually detox those on a juice fast. And that's one of the most exciting aspects of this. That's why you want to go the distance. How long do you need to go? When am I going to start feeling euphoric? Well, usually around the 3rd week, most people start feeling the cumulative effect by not wasting energy every day. It hits me around day 19 almost, and it does most of my students. It's really exciting to see the body working that much more efficiently. But then the aha moment might take 3 months, 4 months, and that really takes a while to bump up our biophoton levels. And once that happens, you'll start noticing things that are different. You'll just notice it. You'll think of things, you'll think of people, and they'll call you right away. It's really fascinating how this works. And that's why I say you're in for a treat when you take a solid food vacation. And it's an even better treat when you continue on the hero's journey. How do you do that? Well, you always give my videos a thumbs up. You make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Tell people to subscribe to my channel. I need to grow so we can get this message out to everyone. Remember, the ultimate solution for virtually every problem on this planet only works if all of us do it. That's why it's a real treat to do this. It's a better treat to be on the hero's journey, helping support the channel. Man, oh man, do I have some great supporters out there. Thank you, thank you, thank you, the way you're helping me on my channel. And if we all keep chipping in like this movement could explode overnight. This is an exciting time to live. So continue on the hero's journey and share. Do some YouTube videos. Even if you're not ready to upload them yet, go ahead and shoot them. And you can always take bits and pieces out of it if you like to do editing. And have fun with this. This is the true joy in life, is when you get to help other people. So that's why I say, when you do this, you're in for a treat.